let's have a lesson and discussion on this work. Follow the lesson for free and just pick up all the tips for free from the video. But if you're interested, I do have a sheet music edition of all 25 Etudes and Carcassi's Op.60, and there's a link for that in the description. Etude number 16 is a welcome relief from the other etudes, especially because I've been going through them one at a time. Here we have just a really clear melody and accompaniment. So your goal in this piece is going to be in some ways straightforward, but still challenging, but is to bring out that beautiful melody and to bring it out as the prominent voice, and then to add the accompaniment softly underneath, as well as phrase nicely and deliver the piece with a little bit of push and pull and some excitement in a few areas. So whenever you have a piece like this, probably the first thing you want to do is just focus on that melody. You can play it on its own. There's quite a bit of repetition in this melody, in these little 2-measure phrases. But a very important fact is that when you want this tension and resolution aspect at the end, especially when the accompaniment is added in there and you end up with a non-chord tone. Resolve. It happens every time. Tension, resolve. That'll really shape those phrases, and you just want that nice relief at the end. So you should work on that melody on its own. And once you have that phrasing nicely, you can add the accompaniment in. You just want the accompaniment to be much softer, so that melody can just pop out of the texture as the prominent thing, right? You don't want it to be crashing about underneath it. You just want to bring out the simplicity of that beautiful melody and then add the accompaniment in. And I've been playing the accompaniment with P and I because when the string groups change and whatnot, you can use that fingering for the entire piece. So I'll often take like the first measure of the piece and just loop it. Until I have the balance that I want. And when you're practicing it at first, I'd recommend you just really exaggerate by making the accompaniment so soft you can barely hear it. So that top melody note just really comes out of the texture. If you just loop that and get that into your hand's muscle memory, then you can just rely on that for the rest of the piece. So just really work that balance aspect at the beginning so that you don't have to think about it too much later on as you're navigating all the rest of the stuff. The right hand is going to be pretty straightforward. You're just playing that melody with the A finger and the accompaniment with I and M. So I think that's just about it. There's a few areas of the piece where, there's some cadences and the excitement builds or something like that. But for the most part, that is your goal, is to bring out that melody very beautifully. So let's just do a walkthrough of the piece and we'll talk about a few things as we go. Always here, here, here. Relax. Cadence here, so a little bit more intense. I don't always follow that first piano at measure 7, but definitely diminuendo into the end of that phrase. Now in measure 4, just remember you're holding this A and C, just pivot into the bar without letting go of that C so that your accompaniment can continue ringing. Pivot into the bar. So you're playing that, and then you pivot into the bar. Let's move on to measure 9. A little bit of intensity, but still phrasing. The accompaniment there, just focus on the melody and then move the accompaniment fingers. So you just really want to focus on the F, E, move the accompaniment fingers. If you just focus on that melody and not the accompaniment, it'll all sound pretty smooth. Measure 13, use your third finger on the A because we want the second finger for the melody, and the melody is more important to connect. A little bit of jumping fingers in that area. The second ending just ends up cadencing on the chord. So yeah, a little bit of jumping in that area, but for the most part, again, if you just really focus on that melody and keep it smooth and connected and keep your phrasing going and your dynamic shaping going, then everything will work out really nicely. Very simple piece in one way, but to actually do it beautifully is always going to be challenging, and we can always work on that more to make it more connected and phrase it in more dynamic shaping. So still a challenging etude, but your task is just very clear in this particular case of melody and accompaniment.